We are the Elizabeth Foundation, and we've been given £15,000 by the Masonic Charitable Foundation as part of the MCF Community Awards. This grant will help fund our Teacher of the Deaf so that we can support more deaf children to learn to listen and speak. Thank you so much.
We are BEAMS, we are a charity that supports disabled children, and we have just been awarded £25,000 from the Masonic Charitable Foundation. Thank you to everyone who voted for us.
We are Magic Moments for Autistic Kids, and we've been given £15,000 by the Masonic Charitable Foundation as part of their MCF Community Awards. This grant will enable us to continue training our autistic children in basic life skills and also provide short breaks and activities, and in addition the transport to enable us to access these valuable services.
We are Hartlepool Special Needs Support Group,
and we have been given £25,000 by the Masonic Charitable Foundation as part of their MCF Community Awards.
The grant will help us to expand, revamp and modernise our resource centre. Thank you.
We're Manchester Jewish Community Care, and we've been given £4,000 for the Nicky Alliance Centre by the Masonic Charitable Foundation as part of the MCF Community Awards. The grant will help us to enhance the lives of the older people in our community.
Aurora Wellbeing Centre is a small charity which supports people and their families living with cancer. We're delighted that through the Masonic Charitable Foundation Turson TV Awards, Aurora has been granted £25,000. This will make a tremendous difference to what we can offer our cancer patients. Thank you to all the many hundreds who voted for us, and to all the Freemasons who contribute generously to the foundation. From all at Aurora, thank you!
We're Campsite, and we've been given £25,000 by the Masonic Charitable Foundation as part of their MCF Community Awards. The grants will enable us to employ a volunteer support worker for the Fenland services.
Interact has been awarded £15,000 from the MCF Community Award. We are absolutely delighted by that, and we want to thank you for voting for us. The £15,000 will pay for 1.5 years of work at one of our hospitals, so we are very, very grateful. Thank you.
We are West Berkshire Therapy Centre, and we've been given £4,000 by the Masonic Charitable Foundation as part of their MCF Community Awards. The grant will help us to buy equipment to help disabled people keep mobile. Thank you.
We're Willow, and we've been given an amazing £25,000 by the Masonic Charitable Foundation as part of their MCF Community Awards. The grant will help us to fulfil more special days for seriously ill young adults aged 16 to 40 in Hertfordshire. Thank you so much.
Brethren. In a society as widely extended as Freemasonry, the branches of which are spread over the 4 quarters of the globe, it cannot be denied that we have many members who have travelled a great distance from east and west to be here today. As well as our own brethren from our overseas districts, we warmly welcome our home Grand Lodges and overseas visitors from 136 sovereign Grand Lodges around the globe, an extraordinary and fitting gathering of the Masonic family on this very special occasion. The United Grand Lodge of England is delighted to welcome to the Royal Albert Hall today the most worshipful Grand Master and brethren from the following Grand Lodges. The Grand Lodge of New Zealand, the Grand Lodge of Tasmania, the Grand Lodge of South Australia and Northern Territory, the Grand Lodge of Western Australia, the United Grand Lodge of New South Wales, the Grand Lodge of the Philippines, the Grand Lodge of India, the Grand Lodge of Russia, the Grand Lodge of Mauritius, the Grand Lodge of the State of Israel, the Grand Lodge of Armenia, the Grand Lodge of Greece, the Grand Lodge of Denmark, the regular Grand Lodge of Serbia, the regular Grand Lodge of Italy, the National Grand Lodge of Poland, the Grand Lodge of Congo, the Grand Lodge of Moldova, the Grand Lodge Alpina of Switzerland, the Sovereign Grand Lodge of Malta, the Grand Lodge of Slovenia, the Grand Lodge of South Africa, the Grand Lodge of Luxembourg, the Grand Lodge of Cameroon, the Grand Lodge of Lithuania, the Grand Lodge of Gabon, the Grand Lodge of Macedonia, the regular Grand Lodge of Belgium, the Grand Lodge of Nigeria, the Grand Lodge of Croatia, the Grand Lodge of Latvia, the Grand Lodge of Scotland, the Grand Lodge of Iceland, the Grand Lodge of Quebec, the Grand Lodge of British Columbia and Yukon, the Grand Lodge of Alaska, the Grand Lodge of Nova Scotia, the Grand Lodge of Minnesota, the Grand Lodge of Canada, Ontario, the Grand Lodge of Oregon, the Grand Lodge of Louisiana, the Grand Lodge of Maine, the Grand Lodge of Wyoming, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of California, the Grand Lodge of South Dakota, the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin, the Grand Lodge of New Mexico, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Ontario, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Wisconsin, the Grand Lodge of Vermont, the Grand Lodge of Kansas, the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Nevada, the Grand Lodge of Connecticut, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of New York, the Grand Lodge of Indiana, the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of New Jersey, the Grand Lodge of Arizona, the Grand Lodge of the District of Columbia, the Grand Lodge of Cuba, the Grand Lodge of Prince Edward Island, the Grand Orient of Haiti, 1824, the Grand Lodge of Washington, the Grand Lodge of the State of Vera Cruz, the Grand Lodge of the Republic of Venezuela, the Grand Lodge of Ecuador, the Occidental Grand Lodge of Colombia at Cali, the Grand Lodge of Peru, the Grand Orient of Brazil, the Grand Lodge of Colombia at Bogota, the Grand Lodge of Bolivia, the Grand Lodge of the State of Espiritu Santo, the symbolic Grand Lodge of Paraguay, the Grand Lodge of the State of Sao Paulo, the Grand Lodge of Chile, the Grand Lodge of the State of Mato Grosso do Sul, the Grand Lodge of the State of Rio Grande do Sul, the Grand Lodge of Uruguay, the United Grand Lodge of Victoria, the United Grand Lodge of Queensland, the Grand Lodge of Japan, the Grand Lodge of China, the Grand Lodge of Turkey, the United Grand Lodge of Bulgaria, the Grand Lodge of the State of Espírito Santo, the symbolic Grand Lodge of Paraguay, the Grand Lodge of the State of Sao Paulo, the Grand Lodge of Chile, the Grand Lodge of the State of Mato Grosso do Sul, the Grand Lodge of the State of Rio Grande do Sul, the Grand Lodge of Uruguay, the United Grand Lodge of Victoria, the United Grand Lodge of Queensland, the Grand Lodge of Japan, the Grand Lodge of China, the Grand Lodge of Turkey, the United Grand Lodge of Bulgaria, the Grand Lodge of Finland, the Grand Lodge of Cyprus, the Grand Lodge of Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Grand Lodge of Norway, the Grand Lodge of Estonia, the United Grand Lodges of Germany, the Grand Lodge of Sweden, the National Grand Lodge of Romania, the National Grand Lodge of Guinea, the National Grand Lodge of France, the symbolic Grand Lodge of Hungary, the Grand East of the Netherlands, the Grand Lodge of the Czech Republic, the National Regular Grand Lodge of the Principality of Monaco, the Grand Lodge of Austria, the Grand Lodge of Ghana, the Grand Lodge of Slovakia, the Regular Grand Lodge of Portugal, the Grand Lodge of Burkina Faso, the Grand Lodge of Spain, the Regular Grand Lodge of the Kingdom of Morocco, the Grand Lodge of Ivory Coast, the Grand Lodge of Ireland, the Grand Lodge of Newfoundland and Labrador, the Grand Lodge of Alberta, the Grand Lodge of Michigan, the Grand Lodge of Montana, the Grand Lodge of Manitoba, the Grand Lodge of New Hampshire, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Texas, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Nevada, the Grand Lodge of Colorado, the Grand Lodge of California, the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts, the Grand Lodge of South Carolina, the Grand Lodge of Ohio, the Grand Lodge of Missouri, the Grand Lodge of Rhode Island, the Grand Lodge of Texas, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Colorado, the Grand Lodge of New York, the Grand Lodge of Virginia, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the District of Columbia, the Grand Lodge of Utah, the Grand Lodge of New Brunswick, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Kansas, the Grand Lodge of New Jersey, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Illinois, the Grand Lodge of Maryland, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Missouri, the Grand Lodge of Los Andes, the York Grand Lodge of Mexico. May we unite today, as always, in the grand design of being happy and communicating happiness.
To order, brethren!
To order, brethren, to receive the most worshipful, the Grand Master.
King Solomon sought to find one skilled in the art of building. He sent for Hiram and brought him up out of Tyre. And so the architect drew designs for the construction of a building. Never more splendid an edifice was fashioned than the temple Hiram wrought for the Lord. This skill to give effect to vision became operative masonry. Over time, thinking men became drawn to the idea of applying these tools to their models, that they should lead better lives, following the will of the great architect. Speculative masonry was born. Great men and great ideas found fertile land, and their beliefs spread across the world. They used tools to measure their actions by the rule of rectitude. They squared their conduct by the principles of morality. They compassed their thoughts by propriety. And thus men built temples within their hearts. These edifices, models, and ideals are as relevant today as they were in ancient times. Let us resolve to keep them so.
Freemasonry has burned as a blazing fire through the last 3 centuries, burnishing some of mankind's greatest achievements. It has illuminated and inspired some of the most treasured works of literature, music, and art. It has pushed philosophers to dream beyond horizons. It has guided visionaries to found new nations, and it has brought peace and harmony into the hearts of millions.
Its grand principles are there for all to see. Brotherly love, the welcome to all people under heaven. Relief, a dedication to charitable work. And truth, the daily search for moral advancement. Many have concluded that Freemasonry's own description of itself is the best. A peculiar system of morality veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. Today, we celebrate Freemasonry, its past, present, and future.
medieval stonemasons met in lodges, where they drew moral lessons from the tools of their craft. Their legends recall that the art of masonry was first taught by Euclid, and that in England, 100 years before the time of William the Conqueror, a great assembly of masons met at York under Prince Edwin, where they drew up a historic code for the guidance of the craft.
In truth, no one knows precisely how philosophical or speculative Freemasonry grew out of the stonemasons' ancient guilds. But by the time of William Shakespeare, gentlemen, and not just working stonemasons, were meeting regularly in masons' lodges to practice the craft.
In the early 1600s, Sir Robert Moray, the driving force behind the Royal Society, was initiated into Freemasonry at Newcastle upon Tyne. Soon after, Elias Ashmole, famous as founder of the Great Ashmolean Museum, was initiated into Freemasonry at Warrington.
Freemasons continued to meet and initiate new members throughout the period of the Civil War, Commonwealth, and Restoration. Then, exactly 300 years ago, in 1717, something happened in London which altered and shaped Freemasonry forever.
After the Great Fire of London, St. Paul's Cathedral had been newly designed and finished by Sir Christopher Wren. It was a triumph of stone and skill. In its shadow, 4 London lodges of Freemasons met together and took a momentous step.
Will you give to charity? Bless you. Do you have anything to give for the cause of charity?
I'm not a wealthy man, but I shall give what I can. Perhaps my coat might be useful for the poor.
Good evening, Mr. Avening. Good to see you. Are you well this night?
Very well, although I'll admit to being a little nervous.
You know this man, Hiram?
I certainly do, Mr. Lambour. This is Mr. Avening, our candidate for initiation this evening.
Then I bid you welcome, sir, on this especially momentous evening.
Brothers, I bid you welcome on this historic evening. Our nation is being torn apart by political and religious violence, and so we must unite in our beliefs and take courage from our faith. It is our duty to stand together and prove that unity is stronger than division.
Indeed, on this notable date, our 4 lodges shall come together to form one. This union will form a refuge for our brothers from the discord we see about us, and will prove hopeful to those in need and darkness.
We must safeguard and treasure this united lodge in order that brothers continue to meet as equals. We shall come together on the level and on the square to continue our craft, more ancient than the golden fleece or Roman eagle, more honorable than any other in existence.
And so, to further cement these intentions, it is here that we lay the foundations of hope. We therefore invite Mr. Sayer, Master of the Apple Tree Tavern, to take the chair as our first Grand Master.
Brothers, it is with great honor that I declare that we 4 ancient and historic lodges shall henceforth meet together once in every quarter as the Grand Lodge of London and Westminster. I appoint Mr. Lambour and Captain Elliot as Grand Wardens, and a year hence we shall meet again, dine, and elect new officers for the year to come.
Brothers, I congratulate you. May this new Grand Lodge flourish and prosper, enriching its members by guiding them in the duties that we all owe to the great architect, to mankind, and to ourselves. The pillars of wisdom, strength, and beauty shall support this union. The square of morality shall guide it, the level of equality sustain it, and the plumb rule of justness and uprightness shall guide you on a journey of virtue, honor, and mercy. Your lodge will stand on holy ground. Together you shall spread light to future generations.
I believe our decision to be approved.
I will second that. And now, if every brother has had his due, I call us from refreshment to labour and invite the master of the Rummer and Grapes Tavern to take the chair.
Our candidate for initiation this evening is Mr. Aveny. He has been well and worthily recommended and regularly proposed and approved in open lodge. Let him be admitted in due form. Whom have you there?
A poor candidate in the state of darkness. Tell me, Mr. Aveny, what do you understand by the three grand principles of Freemasonry?
I understand them to be brotherly love, relief, and truth, Hiram.
Good, and you understand that by these means we hope to reach heaven by ascending Jacob's ladder.
And each step to be a moral virtue.
And each rung to be a guide and support.
This ladder is from earth to heaven. That's long, right? Exactly how many moral virtues are there?
Well, there are a great many, but there are only three principal virtues. In fact, why don't I introduce you to them? Mr. Aveny, meet Faith.
Good evening, Mr. Aveny. I am Faith in all her glory. I represent faith in the great architect of the universe. It is only through me that you can hope to ascend to the heavens.
Not just through faith, Mr. Aveny. I am hope, an equally important moral virtue.
Good evening, Hope.
I represent hope in salvation.
Do you understand about salvation, Mr. Aveny?
Yes, I hope for salvation. I also hope to be a better person, to be better able to serve my fellow men.
So now you must meet our sister, Charity.
I am Charity. In fact, I'm the distinguishing characteristic of a Freemason's heart.
They also represent three very important elements. They are wisdom, strength, and beauty.
By faith, we show wisdom in the divine, which providence naturally creates.
Hope! Hello, that'll be me. All about strength, being part of the promises recorded in the volume of sacred law.
And charity. I bring it all together. I'm the beautiful one. I bring it all together beautifully.
Wisdom is as treasured as any fair face, and strength is a power that all of mankind strives to achieve, and beauty, well, beauty should be admired in science and nature, and great works of art, and literature, and music.
Music? Well, can we sing now?
No.
Oh, but we could be the 3 degrees.
Not yet.
We all work together perfectly in harmony.
Harmony, can we sing now, then?
Your time will come. Now, Mr. Aveny, we've all witnessed your charitable side, but what does that mean to you?
To give to those less fortunate than myself, Hiram.
Good. You're beginning to understand. And what makes you want to embark upon this Masonic journey?
I'm troubled by the happenings in our great country, Hiram. I see so much suffering, so much violence, the poverty on our streets.
The unrest that you've witnessed is not new to us. It is the result of centuries of feuding between different religious and political differences. Poverty and division are the two saddest consequences of war, and mankind must work together to end these.
My family fought on both sides in the Civil War, and the endless religious divides have sown bitterness and hatred among us for over a century. The only winners in all this discord have been the shroud makers and the grave diggers. I long for us to emerge from this suffocating darkness.
As do we all, Mr. Aveny, and Masonry can offer you just such a path, away from factionalism, offering hope and strength to all those who reflect deeply on its wisdom.
I'm not a believer in organizations and institutions. They've been responsible for so much misery and the shedding of innocent blood. I believe only individuals striving to follow their better natures can help us now.
What is it you do for a living?
I'm a stonemason. I'm proud to have played my part in the rebuilding of the great St. Paul's Cathedral.
A noble profession, and one that involves much hard labor.
I witnessed so much pain and desperation amongst my fellow craftsmen. Without the right tools, even able-bodied men find themselves without employment. Their families suffer as a consequence. I, like many, wish to become a more expert workman, but without the tools.
Without your of our land would not have been laid. With the Freemasons' tools and everything that you will learn, I have no doubt you will become the expert workman that you desire to be. Your journey has started. The pain and discord you've witnessed and felt has made you seek solace and truth. Out of the darkness will come light. You will see.
Let us prepare, we brothers who are assembled on merry occasion. Let's drink, dance, and sing, be a merry or pig, is a health to an accepted mason. Let's drink, dance, and sing, be a merry or pig, is a health to an accepted mason. Great kings, dukes, and lords had laid by their swords our mysteries to pull their good grace on, and any ashamed to hear themselves named with a pure and an accepted mason. And any ashamed to hear themselves named with a free and an accepted mason. And dignity's pride we have on our side, and it maketh men just in this station. There's more of what's good that will be understood by a free and an accepted mason. There's more of what's good to be understood by a free and an accepted mason. There's more of what's good to be understood by a free and accepted mason.
Like the builders of old, each Freemason takes up the square and compasses. As he applies these tools to his morals and becomes more skilled in the craft, he progresses from entered apprentice to fellow craft, and finally master mason. In rich ceremonies of timeless drama, he is presented with centuries of wisdom on life's greatest questions, on birth, life, and death. He is guided to reflect on the brotherhood of man dwelling together under the eye of God, and the ways in which each can so conduct himself as to live respected and to die regretted. Through these unique experiences, each brother carves a stone of the great temple in his own way.
I hold that to be self-evident, Brother Franklin. All men are created equal.
Indeed, Brother Washington. All Freemasons meet as equals, and we have an opportunity to create a nation in the very essence of Masonic morality.
With freedom and tolerance of all religions and moralities that no government can oppress.
You know, I think it would be a great idea if we wore our Masonic regalia when we're putting in place the foundation stone for the Capitol building.
Freedom of speech, too, and the press, the right to peaceful assembly, and... Did you say regalia?
Yes. Well, it would be wonderfully symbolic, don't you think?
You'll be wanting to put the all-seeing eye on our banknotes next.
You think I'm taking it a bit far?
Please don't ask me questions like that, Brother Franklin. You know I cannot tell a lie.
Oh, come on, Brother Washington. Everybody lies occasionally, surely. Especially politicians.
Not me. Not even so much as an alternative fact.
We must all be aware of fake news.
The people must be free to think what they like as well. We can have no thought police in our new society.
I couldn't agree with you more. Without freedom of thought, there can be, well, no such thing as wisdom.
You know, I do agree with you, though. The foundation stone of our new nation built on all those principles that we hold dear. Perfect in its parts and honorable to the builder.
And the plans for our new capital city already have a very Masonic feel to them, yeah. You know, I still don't think Potomac City has enough of a ring to it, though, somehow. Have you given any thought to a name, Brother Washington?
I'm still working on that one.
Good evening, Brother George.
Well, hello, Brother Hiram.
Brother Benjamin.
And who's your friend?
Oh, this is Mr. Aveny, our candidate for initiation into the order. I'm giving him a little introduction into some of our mysteries.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Oh, hey, what a privilege to be shown round by Hiram himself.
Yes, I'm learning a great deal.
And these two gentlemen are founding an entire nation built on our principles.
We have great promises for our new nation. You know, I wonder if other presidents after me will also be Freemasons.
Well, of course. I mean, Oh, well, I just sort of assumed.
I'm afraid not, Ben. But many will be. And Freemasonry will become embedded in the American culture. And the eye will appear on the banknotes.
Oh, God.
As will your face.
Oh, God.
And in years to come, these principles will be honored with a gift from your French brethren. A gift that will be a welcoming beacon to the poor and oppressed when they journey to your great land. Brother Bartholdi.
I've always liked the French.
What's that?
This is the statue we are giving you.
It's a bit small, isn't it?
Oh, this is a maquette. The real thing is bigger. Much, much bigger. I call her Liberty Enlightening the World.
Catchy. I like her.
I love her. Liberty's what we're all about.
And life.
And life. Life and liberty's what we're all about.
And the pursuit of happiness.
Well, of course, the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness goes without saying. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Forgive me for being naive, but if the people spend all their time pursuing happiness, how on earth can they expect to build a successful nation?
Well, how about life, liberty, labor, and the pursuit of happiness? Labor is just as important as refreshment.
It's the rule of three, Brother Benjamin. Believe me, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness will play much better. Faith, hope, and charity. Beauty, truth, strength.
I'm afraid he's right, but as a nation, you will labor hard. You will labor very hard indeed, and you will play hard. America will produce a great many great Americans from many different walks of life and many different fields, and many will be Masons. Sportsmen, actors, writers, soldiers, filmmakers, businessmen, inventors, astronauts.
What on earth is an astronaut?
No, they're not.
I don't follow.
Well, they're not on Earth, they're in space. In fact, Brother Buzz Aldrin was the second man to walk upon the surface of the moon.
That's the best thing I've heard this evening.
What, that a Mason walked on the moon?
Nope, that he was the second man to walk on the moon. See, I told you, people don't always remember who the first person was to do something.
Man on the moon. Amazing. But don't forget the musicians. Do not forget the musicians.
How could we forget music? Music is a vital part of America's cultural identity.
Introducing the essential elements, otherwise known as...
That rule of three again.
The 3 degrees!
And yours truly. Mr. Aveny, brethren, will you please put your hands together for Brother Cab Calloway?
Hello, brothers and sisters. My name's Cab Calloway. I'm going to introduce you to my three lovely ladies, Faith, Hope, and Charity. Hey folks, here's a story about Minnie the Moocher. She was a real hoochie coocher. She was the hottest, roughest frail, but Minnie had a heart as big as a whale. Heidi, 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 Heidi. Heidi, 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 Heidi. Oh, yodi, yodi, oh. Yodi, 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 oh. Heedy, 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 heedy. Heedy, heedy, heedy. Heidi, 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 oh. Heidi, 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 oh. She messed around with a bloke named Smokey. She loved him though he was cocky. He took her down to Chinatown and showed her how to kick the gong around. Heidi, 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 Heidi. Heidi, 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 Heidi. Ooh. Heedy, 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 heedy. Heedy, heedy, heedy. Heidi, 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 oh. Heidi, 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 oh. She had a dream about the king of Sweden. He gave her things that she was needing. Gave her a home made of gold and steel, a diamond car with the platinum wheels. Howdy, 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 howdy. Howdy, 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 howdy. Skiddly boo, skiddly biddly biddly boo. Ladies and gentlemen, you've had it easy so far. This is call and answer. I call, you answer, and it gives my lovely ladies a chance to show off their vocal dexterity. So I'm going to split this auditorium into two halves. This is the right hand half, and this is the royal hand half. I'm expecting big things from the royal hand half. Now, I'm going to call, you're going to answer. Here we go. Heidi, 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 Heidi. Heidi, 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 Heidi. Odi, 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 oh. Odi, 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 oh. I have to warn you, ladies and gentlemen, we're going nowhere till I'm happy. So we're going to try that one more time. Come on, brethren. Let's do this. Here we go. Heidi, 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 Heidi. Heidi, 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 Heidi. Odi, 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 oh. Odi, 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 oh. It's time for the royal hand side, ladies and gentlemen. I'm expecting a lot from the boxes. All the boxes. Here we go. Heidi, 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 Heidi. Heidi, 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 Heidi. Odi, 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 oh. Odi, 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 oh. I'm going to join you all together now, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to raise the roof on this little old barn you call the Royal Albert Hall. When you're ready, maestro. Howdy, 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 howdy. Yeah. Howdy, 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 howdy. Yeah. Skitty boo, skitty boo, skitty bitty bitty boo. Skitty bitty boo, the boy. He gave her a home and he's racing horses. Each meal she had was a dozen horses. Had a
The second degree congratulates you on your progress. At the same time, it symbolizes the central role in our journey of a fuller understanding of the deeper meanings of nature and science. Passing through the pillars into King Solomon's temple, you ascend the great winding staircase and are twice challenged to test your worthiness and understanding. On finally entering the middle chamber, a profound lesson on the value of earthly and heavenly rewards awaits you.
Freemasonry is sustained by an unquestioning acceptance of religious and political differences and joyfully embracing the common experiences that humanity shares.
In Germany, Brother Gotthold Lessing was a writer who treasured Freemasonry as an expression of these tolerant values. In his play Nathan the Wise, a Christian, a Muslim, and a Jew in medieval Jerusalem learn to live together. At the heart of the tale is a poignant parable of 3 rings.
Long ago, in the Orient, there lived a man who possessed a ring of inestimable worth. It had an opal which emitted 100 colors, but its true gift was its ability to make its wearer beloved of God and man. The ring passed from father to most favored son for many generations, until finally its owner was a father with 3 sons who were all equally deserving.
Unable to decide which of them was most worthy, the father commissioned a master artisan to make 2 identical copies of the ring. He then gave each son a ring, and each son believed that he alone possessed the original and true ring. But instead of harmony, the father's plan brought terrible discord.
After the father had died, each son claimed to be the sole ruler of the father's house because of the ring given to him. Examination of the rings made the discord more bitter because no differences were disclosed. The matter was put before a judge who deliberated long and hard before pronouncing his verdict.
The authentic ring made its owner beloved of God and man. But each of your rings has brought only hatred and strife. None of you is loved by others. Each loves only himself. I conclude that none of you has the original ring. Your father must have lost it, then attempted to hide his loss by having 3 counterfeit rings made. And these are the rings that cause you so much grief. Or perhaps your father, weary of the tyranny of a single ring, made duplicates. Let each of you demonstrate his belief in the power of his ring by conducting his life in such a manner that he fully merits, as anciently promised, the love of God and man.
By the middle of the 18th century, a rival Grand Lodge appeared in London at the Turk's Head in Soho. Its original members were Irish and Scottish Masons, younger, more bohemian, more artisan, less formal than the premier Grand Lodge. They called themselves the Ancients and claimed a lineage back to the meeting of Masons summoned by Prince Edwin at York in the year 926. By the early 1800s, after 60 years of discord and rivalry, and in a supreme gesture of British Masonic fraternity, the 2 rival Grand Lodges eventually put aside their differences. led by their Grand Masters, the two sons of King George III, blood brothers, Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, father of Queen Victoria, and Prince Augustus, Duke of Sussex. The two princes brought their feuding Grand Lodges together and reconciled to be the United Grand Lodge of England. To celebrate this historic act of unity, the leading architect, Brother Sir John Soane, created a wooden Ark of the Masonic Covenant, richly decorated with the Masonic symbolism of wisdom, strength, and beauty. The treasured Articles of Union were placed into the Ark, which stood before the Grand Master's throne in Grand Lodge. But tragically, in 1883, fire ripped through the Grand Temple, and the Ark, that most precious symbol of treasured fraternity, went up in flames.
The new Mason wears the white lambskin apron of the working stonemason. It is a badge of innocence and the bond of friendship. As he progresses in the craft, he comes to understand that Freemasonry has no creed, nor demands any beliefs from him other than in a supreme being. Yet embedded in its principles are exhortations for the Mason to explore nature and science, to act on the square with mankind, to render every kind office which justice or mercy may require, to soothe afflictions, and to do to others as he would wish to be done too. Drawing on a storehouse of intricate symbolism, Freemasonry offers a vivid guide by which each Mason can begin the work of transforming himself from a rough ashlar into a cube of dressed stone. The third degree brings craft Freemasonry's journey to a close. It symbolizes the inevitability of your end. Still guided by the tools of the stonemason and surrounded by the emblems of finality, you perceive the completed temple of our beings and the sprig of acacia, an ancient token of immortality. By progressing through Freemasonry's symbolic lessons, you have been guided on a path of moral enlightenment to the great architect, mankind, and yourself. For anyone who has embraced these universal lessons, even death shall hold no fears.
With its strong bonds of camaraderie, Freemasonry naturally traveled the long, dusty roads of Great Britain's influence, west to the United States and Canada, south to Africa, and east to India and the Far East.
Across the globe, English-speaking lodges became a feature of 18th and 19th century life. Many larger cities had their own lodges, where the nationalities mixed freely. The British Army had travelling lodges that moved with regiments.
Many people discovered Freemasonry far from Britain. Nobel Prize-winning author, Brother Rudyard Kipling, finding himself in Lahore as a young newspaperman, was made a Freemason in the Lodge of Hope and Perseverance, 782 English Constitution.
Here, he met with Freemasons who were Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, members of the Arya and Brahmo Samjar, and a Jewish tailor who was a priest and butcher to his little community in the city.
As the globe embraced Freemasonry, enlightenment came, not just to the initiate, but to the world.
Come, Mr. Aveny. I'd like you to meet some more of our famous brothers. I believe each one of them can teach you something that will aid your journey.
Can we sing now?
No.
When?
Goodbye. Thank you.
Have faith,
Mr. Aveny, may I introduce Frederick the Great of Prussia?
Young man, you have taken the first step and proven yourself to be worthy. You will grow in wisdom and in strength. All true masonry is the intellectual elevation of men as members of society, making them more virtuous and more charitable.
Dear brother Fred, always so sincere. I've said it before and I shall say it again. Did you not know that a little sincerity is a dangerous thing, and a great deal of it is absolutely fatal?
Don't look so alarmed, Mr. Aveny. Meet Brother Oscar Wilde, the acclaimed playwright and novelist.
And wit. Hello, dear boy. Terribly pleased to meet you. You look a little nervous.
I'm a little overawed.
I don't doubt that, old chap. But we are true gentlemen, and a gentleman is one who never hurts anyone's feelings unintentionally. So, how can I be of assistance?
Well, I hear much of the Enlightenment came about through the arts. I wonder if you might define this for me. Please.
To define is to limit, dear boy. Keep an open mind and watch, critique, and admire. All art has a message. It's up to you to find it.
I shall. Thank you.
Well, music is an art. Can we sing now?
Not yet. If one sings good music, people don't listen. If one sings bad music, people don't talk, my dears. Oh, look who we have here, Monsieur Voltaire. He's French, you know. It was all the rage in his day. Volley, come and tell Mr. Aveny just how brilliant you are.
I am? Well, I may not agree with what you say, but I shall defend to the death your right to say it.
Mr. Aveny is studying enlightenment, Brother Voltaire. Perhaps you could give him a little advice.
You have doubts, Monsieur Aveny?
Well, as Hiram says, I'm learning.
My advice is this. Doubt is not a pleasant condition, but certainty is absurd.
He loves to be cryptic. It's the French in him, you know. Oh, wonderful. Monty, come on over, old chap. Brother Montesquieu, my boy, another of the French contingent. I do love the French language, especially to curse with. It's like...
Good evening, Oscar. You don't change. I am a citizen of humanity first, and by necessity, and a citizen of France second, and only by accident. We are not all prone to such outspoken behavior, you know. It can be a little embarrassing, but I've said this before. To be truly great, one has to stand with the people, not above them.
You've said it 100 times, Monty, but I say, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. Oh, look who's here! Brother John Locke himself!
Good evening, gentlemen. Monty, Hiram, Fred, Oscar. And you are?
Mr. Aveny, sir. I'm honored.
You seem a little unsettled, Mr. Aveny.
I admit to being a little intimidated by the greatness I'm surrounded by.
Well, we are rather marvelous, I'll give you that.
Don't be intimidated, be inspired. We are like chameleons. We take our hue and our moral character from those who surround us.
Exactly. Be just like us. Learn to love yourself.
Not just yourself. Think of it like this. The better men are, the more they love one another. Virtue having in itself something so amiable as to capture the hearts of those who behold it.
That's what I was saying.
No, Oscar, that's what I was saying.
Do not feel anything but worthy, Monsieur Aveny. You are clearly a fine Englishman with fine morals. And luckily for you, An Englishman as a free man goes to heaven by whatever road he pleases.
Ah, but none is more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free.
Meet Brother Goethe, German, no humor whatsoever.
For us Germans, humor is no laughing matter. To speak well and eloquently is a very great art, but an equally great one is to know when to stop.
See? And that's not even his line. He nicked that from Mozart, you know.
I was quoting Brother Mozart as it fitted the moment.
Oh, quite. Quotation is a serviceable substitute for wit.
Mozart? Time for a song?
Not yet.
Brother Goethe, may I introduce Mr. Aveny, our candidate for initiation this evening?
And what brings you to Masonry, Mr. Aveny?
I'm a believer in healing the many divisions between us, and curious whether the power of brotherhood can really be a lasting force for harmony.
Indeed. Our greatest scientists and philosophers are proving the power of mankind, while those who refuse to acknowledge anything but ignorance and war cause suffering. You are clearly a thinking man.
Thank you. A lot more to learn, I'm sure.
Mr. Aveny, it is the greatest pleasure of a thinking man to fathom the fathomable and to quietly revere the unfathomable.
Thank you, sir. The darkness weakened me, but I feel I'm growing stronger.
By nature, we have no defect that could not become a strength, but no strength that could not become a defect.
Oh, Goethe, you are so terribly worthy. It's almost painful sometimes. Let's have another drink and talk about things of beauty and art.
You are right, Brother Wilde. Thank you. Each day we should try and hear one little song, read one good poem, see one exquisite picture, and if possible, speak a few sensible words.
Hiram, I'm just a poor stonemason. I can't compete with these great men. What can I offer?
Yourself, Mr. Aveny. Any man can be great if he gives of himself. You don't need fame or fortune or have the mind of a genius or be a nation's leader. An ordinary man's actions and beliefs can make him extraordinary.
So the secret is to become the best that you can hope to be.
Exactly.
You are fortunate, Mr. Aveny. Hiram does not usually give away secrets so easily.
As I was saying, you don't need fame to be great, but we are rather proud of our better-known brothers. Come, Mr. Aveny. There's some more of them I'd like you to meet.
Quite a list. It's a lot to take in.
Yes, it is.
Certainly an education.
Free little maids from school
And I can tell you that there are many others who feel that they are the most important elements of Freemasonry. Important, perhaps. And I have a little list. As someday it may happen that a victim must be found, I've got a little list. I've got a little list of Masonic bores and irritants who always hang around and who never would be missed. They never would be missed. There's the treasurer whose attitude is constantly irate. The secretary whose summonses are always sent out late. The seeker of promotion who's a sycophantic brat. All persons who in shaking hands shake hands with you well, like that. And the masters who on reading all their rituals insist, they none of them be missed. They none of them be missed. He's on the list, he's got on the list, and they none of them be missed. They none of them be missed. There's the treasurer whose attitude is constantly irate, and the secretary-ist, I've got him on my list, who has no grasp of masonry and what it signifies. He never would be missed. He never would be missed. Then the brethren with far too many jewels on their breast, or those who do not care about the poor or the distressed, and the arrogant initiate who thinks he knows it all because he did a guided tour around Freemasons' Hall. And that irritating brother, the word perfect ritualist, I don't think he'd be missed. I'm sure he'd not be missed.
He's got them on the list. He's got them on the list. And they none of them be missed. They none of them be missed.
Anybody feeling left out? Don't worry, there's another verse. There's the visiting grand officer and other senior ranks, the aspiring humorist, I've got him on the list, whose speeches last for hours when he could have just said thanks. They none of them be missed. They none of them be missed. There's the ones who sidle up to you when you are at the bar, but never buy a drink themselves or offer a cigar. All self-important, pompous types who think they're far too grand, and brethren who drink so much that they can barely stand. But it really doesn't matter whom you put upon the list, for they none of them be missed. They none of them be missed.
You may put them on the list. You may put them on the list, and they none of them be missed. They none of them be missed.
I am the very model of a modern major general. I've information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England, and I quote the fights historical, from Marathon to Waterloo in order categorical. I'm very well acquainted, too, with matters mathematical. I understand equation, both the simple and quadratical. About my Newman theorem, I'm teeming with a lot of news. News. Ooh, with many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. For my military knowledge, I'm plucky and adventure has only been brought down to the beginning of the century, but still in matters vegetable, animal, and mineral, I am the very model of a modern major general.
Freemasonry asks its members to unite in being happy and communicating happiness. It values humor highly, and meetings and dinners generate much laughter. In its earliest days, Freemasonry thrived as a haven away from endless political violence and war.
Ever since, it has always sought to foster peace and unity. But when the terrible blight of war has ripped societies apart, Freemasons have served their countries and communities with distinction, while continuing to draw hope and inspiration from the craft.
Around the world, Freemasons have always been encouraged to think of the needs of their fellow creatures. In World War I, Freemasons were honored with over 100 of the 628 Victoria Crosses awarded for valor, and similar sacrifices and gallantry have been displayed by Freemasons down the ages and across the globe.
Masons have also seen beyond the flags and uniforms of nations to the individual human tragedies of war and sought to keep alive the spirit of universal brotherhood.
In the United States, during the Civil War, Freemasons met across the Union and Confederate divide to celebrate their common rituals and shared humanity.
In World War I, after the numbing slaughter at Ypres, a Canadian prisoner of war and a German guard struck up a Masonic friendship that sustained them both. And today, Freemasonry remains an active part of military life in many countries.
The darkness you saw and endured may continue. Those who know no better will continue to fight, and innocence will continue to suffer. You have found solace and refuge. In your wisdom, you've chosen a better path.
I only wish I could do more to aid those in need of light.
You can and you will. Resolving the conflict in one's own mind is the first step. Everything else will follow.
Am I worthy enough to teach others?
Brother Goethe said that magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. All you have to do is believe. We cannot deny our bloody history, but we can unite and create peace. Brother Mozart wrote a piece of music which best illustrates this complex thing. In perhaps his most Masonic of all his operas, The Magic Flute, all you have to do is listen.
So bist du
That's incredible.
And achingly sad. You see, she's in darkness. In fact, she's the queen of darkness. She is the queen of the night. It takes someone who really understands Masonic values to show us that darkness and revenge have no place in this world. Come, Mr. Aveny. You should be very proud. You've achieved a lot.
Where to now, Hiram? This has been such a journey.
Back to where we started. The goose and gridiron. You are nearing the light, Mr. Aveny.
I do indeed begin to see light where before now only darkness reigned.
Do you understand why Freemasonry exists?
Yes, most surely. Hiram has shown me so many great and noble brothers, all of whom have proved the principles of Freemasonry to be both worthy and wise.
The power of giving never ends, Mr. Aveny. It is through that power we are able to teach those, like yourself, to become stronger, worthier men.
One last question, Hiram. I've learnt so much I wish to share with others. How may I do this?
You have a reason to be, Mr. Aveny, a purpose in the world. Understanding that is the next step on the path to enlightenment. Now listen once more, and you will learn a great truth.
Throughout his long journey, and with divine guidance, the Freemason is offered ancient advice to take him on his path from darkness to light, to encourage him in his quest for knowledge and his desire to render himself more serviceable to his fellow creatures. Let prudence direct you, temperance chasten you, fortitude support you, and justice be the guide of all your actions. Be especially careful to maintain in their fullest splendor those truly Masonic ornaments, benevolence and charity. In these simple recommendations lies a universe of meaning, exhorting the Mason to the pursuit of wisdom, strength, fairness, and sensitivity to the needs of others, urging him to be useful to mankind and to perform his allotted task while it is yet day.
From those humble beginnings 300 years ago, the United Grand Lodge of England has flourished into a vibrant and dynamic organization with around 6,800 lodges and 200,000 members of all ages.
Worldwide, Freemasonry remains as important and relevant as ever. A global society of perhaps 6 million people, with lodges for men, for women, and for both.
Although authoritarian and totalitarian regimes continue to suppress Freemasonry, afraid of its strong heritage of liberty and equality, there are extraordinary exceptions, such as Cuba, where a vibrant and popular Freemasonry continues to flourish.
From the earliest days, Masonry was always a charitable society, distributing charity to the needy. In time, the Grand Lodges and individuals supported and led major international campaigns.
Performing charitable work for the community and giving to mainstream charities have remained at the heart of Freemasonry throughout its existence. And today the United Grand Lodge of England is among the country's most important charitable donors.
Are you ready?
Yes, Hiram. I'm ready.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Hiram, for everything, for showing me the light.
I think you deserve a medal, Brother Hiram.
Now tell these brethren all that you have learnt.
That peace comes from within. And finding the good in the world is to see the beauty in nature that the great architect gives us. And enlightenment is to have faith in mankind and its abilities to create, to learn, to invent, and to further thinking. I pray these values will continue to be learnt by other men for centuries to come, and the world shall become a better place because of them.
Do you know what I think, Mr. Aveny?
I have it wrong.
I think you have all the makings of a master mason. And I believe you owe us two a drink.
Freemasons all meet on the level as equals, and this has encouraged men from all walks of life to participate. Newly made Freemasons are told that, in every age, monarchs themselves have been promoters of the art, have not thought it derogatory to their dignity to exchange the scepter for the trowel.
In Britain, Kings George IV, William IV, Edward VII, Edward VIII, and George VI were all Freemasons, as were 18 dukes and princes, including the Duke of Edinburgh.
This year, His Royal Highness Prince Edward, the Duke of Kent, celebrates his 50th year as Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England.
His father was Grand Master from 1939 to 1942, and in 1963 His Royal Highness was proposed into Freemasonry by the then Grand Master, the Earl of Scarborough.
He was initiated into Royal Alpha Lodge number 16 on Monday the 16th of December 1963 and served as its master from 1965 to 1966.
Having served a year as Senior Grand Warden, in 1967 he was elected the 10th Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England and the 57th Grand Master of English Freemasonry since Anthony Sayer first took the chair at the Goose and Gridiron in 1717.
His Royal Highness is, by a considerable margin, the longest-serving Grand Master in the history of English Freemasonry, and has spent each year of his Grand Mastership as a tireless ambassador and advocate for the craft all over the world, continuing 3 centuries of distinguished royal tradition at the very heart of English Freemasonry.
To order, brethren!
To order, brethren, to receive the most worshipful, the Grand Master.
I call upon the Grand Chaplain for the benefit of prayer.
Almighty and everlasting God, creator and giver of all life, as we celebrate the tercentenary of the founding of the Premier Grand Lodge and the birth of organized Freemasonry, we give thee heartfelt and humble thanks for all we derive from our Masonic membership in the practice of every moral and social virtue. Keep our order, we beseech thee, within the benevolent spirit of thy divine providence, so that brotherly love, relief, and truth may increase among us, to benefit those in need and be a source of blessing and comfort to all whom we serve here and the world over. Grant that thy wisdom may guide us, thy truth enlighten us, and thy justice dignify our lives. This we ask for the honour and glory of thy holy name.
Brethren, let us sing a hymn of service to God and country. Upon the Deputy Grand Master.
Most worshipful Grand Master and brethren, I hereby read the text of a letter sent today to Buckingham Palace. May it please your Majesty, we, the representatives of over 200,000 Freemasons under the United Grand Lodge of England, most respectfully express our continuing loyalty to your Majesty's throne and person in this, the 66th year of your long and distinguished reign. Today we celebrate the 300th anniversary of the foundation of the Premier Grand Lodge and the 50th anniversary of the installation of His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent as our much loved and greatly respected Grand Master. We humbly thank God for preserving our order and fervently pray His blessings on your Majesty, so that our loyal devotion to your Majesty may long continue. Given at the Royal Albert Hall this 31st day of October, Anno Domini 2017. Her Majesty has been pleased to reply in the following terms. The Queen has asked me to thank you for your kind letter of loyal greetings on behalf of the representatives of the Freemasons under the United Grand Lodge of England, on the occasion of the 300th anniversary of the foundation of the Premier Grand Lodge and the 50th anniversary of the installation of the Duke of Kent as your Grand Master, which are being celebrated on the 31st of October at the Royal Albert Hall. Her Majesty appreciated your thoughtfulness in writing as you did, and, in return, has asked me to send her warm good wishes to you all for a most successful event.
It is with the warmest fraternal greetings and pleasure that I welcome you all here today to celebrate this special anniversary, the tercentenary of the founding of the Premier Grand Lodge in London. I had the pleasure of meeting 136 Grand Masters visiting from overseas at Freemasons Hall yesterday. Today, though, we are a meeting of more than 4,000 gathered from all around the world, from our own constitution and beyond, united in peace and harmony, regardless of race, religion, or any of the other things that historically foment division. We are pleased that this audience is further enlarged by many who are watching the proceedings here on live screens at Freemasons Hall and up and down the country, and indeed in other countries. I extend a warm and welcome greeting to you all. Our own provinces and districts have joyfully celebrated the tercentenary in many innovative ways this year, marked by the eager participation of their local brethren. Many of our visiting Grand Lodges have also thought our tercentenary worthy of local celebrations, which has been a cause of great delight, and we are truly honored. Today, however, is the occasion when the global Masonic family comes together to celebrate our past and to renew our own pride and confidence in and enthusiasm for Freemasonry, such that we may inspire future generations. Brethren, would you now join me in singing a hymn about the guidance and sustenance that Masons have always sought from the great architect of the universe.
Amen.
seated, brethren.
Brethren, of the 4 lodges that met at the Goose and Gridiron Tavern in 1717, 3 are still with us. Their names and numbers have changed, but what has remained is their unique heritage as the founders of the first ever Grand Lodge. Alone among our lodges, they operate with no warrant, but by immemorial constitution and by their own honourable reputations. As permanent master of these 3 lodges, I now call on my deputy masters.
Most worshipful Grand Master, on behalf of the Brethren of Royal Somerset House and Inverness Lodge number 4, I present to you the volume of the Sacred Law, that great light in Freemasonry without which no ceremony can start or be complete.
Most worshipful Grand Master, on behalf of the Brethren of the Lodge of Fortitude and Ill Cumberland, number 12, I present to you the square and compasses, those great lights by which Masons regulate their lives and actions and keep themselves in due bounds with all mankind.
Most worshipful Grand Master, on behalf of the Brethren of the Lodge of Antiquity, number 2, I present to you the Wren Maul, the most treasured possession of the Lodge, which has been used by you and your many predecessors on ceremonial occasions.
Deputy Masters, I accept from you these precious gifts, and I thank you for bringing them today. I thank your lodges for your remarkable achievement in founding the world's first Grand Lodge and for your services to Grand Lodge over the past 300 years.
Most worshipful Grand Master and brethren, we saw earlier how the sewn ark, the Ark of the Masonic Covenant, symbolized English Freemasonry's vision of unity and common purpose, but how it was tragically destroyed by fire in 1883. Tonight, I'm delighted to announce that, thanks to the skill of very expert craftsmen, we welcome it back, rebuilt exactly according to the original design, with its 3 pillars of the Ionic, Doric, and Corinthian orders, representing wisdom, strength, and beauty. The Ark has always been a symbol of hope and continuity. In the Bible, it is an ark that safely navigates the waters of the deluge, and it is an ark that holds the tablets of the commandments in witness to the hope of salvation. The Ark of the Masonic Covenant that formerly stood in the Grand Temple was also a symbol of hope, housing the precious Articles of Union and all they embodied about our values. The Ark before us today is no less a potent symbol of hope and aspiration, for it carries, as originally intended, a copy of the Articles of Union. Today we shall add a further legacy.
I now call upon my deputy masters to present the 3 great lights of masonry to the Grand Chaplain to be placed in the Ark.
I receive this volume of the sacred law, and I place it in the Ark. I receive this square, which I place in the Ark. I receive these compasses, which I place in the Ark.
To order, brethren.
Great architect of the universe and ark of our lives, we thank thee for the abiding unity, peace, and concord of our order, founded upon the 3 pillars of thy wisdom, strength, and beauty. In the spirit of the Masonic virtues of fidelity, loyalty, and constance, we pray thy blessing upon our dedication of this ark to the service of the craft. We return it to its former place of honor in the Grand Temple, where it will adorn our ceremonies and forever remind us of our incomparable heritage and those duties we owe to thee, Almighty God, to our fellow men and to ourselves. By thy everlasting light, illuminate our hearts and minds with brotherly love, relief, and truth. In the practice of every moral and social virtue, for this world's good and thy glory, in thy holy name. So mote it be.
Be seated, brethren.
I call upon the program master.
Brethren, we have heard so many words throughout this tercentenary year, culminating in the tribute earlier today, praising our Grand Master. His service at the head of our order for over 50 years is a truly remarkable record. There is, however, one sentiment which formal toasts, speeches, or even, dare I say, dramatic scripts fail adequately to convey. It would be wrong to allow this gathering here today to end without stressing the deep and sincere loyalty and affection felt by the Brethren of the United Grand Lodge of England for their Grand Master. I will save him from embarrassment by not dilating here on His Excellencies or achievements. Suffice it to say that we are well aware of and immensely grateful for them. We have valued his leadership over the past half-century most highly. He has guided and inspired us over a period of great change. His wise counsel and steady influence have been repaid by our brethren with an immense pride in and deep respect for our Grand Master, which has always engendered unwavering and genuine affection. We wish him very well for the future and sincerely hope that he will continue to remain at our head for years to come. Brethren, please stand and join me in expressing our fondest gratitude to the Most Worshipful, the Grand Master.
Thank you, Pro Grand Master, for those most generous words, and thank you all, brethren, for your kind wishes. Freemasonry, as we have seen today, has inspired countless truly great men and historical figures throughout the ages. But it has also found a treasured place in the lives of millions of ordinary men, encouraging a love of tolerance, freedom, the dignity of mankind, and an understanding of their place in the universe under God. These men work quietly and diligently in their communities today, allowing the light of brotherly love and charity to shine from them, demonstrating to the world the beneficial effects of our ancient institution. Freemasonry endures, thriving, inspiring, and vibrant, replete with notions as relevant today as they are timeless. From time to time, there are voices calling for change, and we do change, carefully and after due consideration, to meet the challenges of the times. But we adhere to our basic principles, tenets, and essential nature, which the brethren from the Goose and Gridiron would still recognize as their own. What, I wonder, would those Freemasons present at the Goose and Gridiron 300 years ago think of us here today, remembering and celebrating them? I like to think that they would be proud to have built something that has given so much happiness and brought so much light to so many around the world. Indeed, the cumulative effect of millions of men living better lives and practicing every moral and social virtue is surely their most enduring legacy. Our duty is to preserve their legacy and to pass on a Freemasonry that will capture the imagination of future generations who will be able to benefit from it and enjoy it as much as we and our predecessors have done. Before we close our celebrations here today, may I ask you to join with me in warmly thanking the distinguished cast of actors and musicians, together with all the writers, designers, production, and backstage professionals who have obviously labored very hard to deliver this wonderfully uplifting review of our history and our values. You have delivered a show that has delighted, educated, challenged, and inspired, showing how organized Masonry traveled from these islands, bringing light to millions, leading men to improvement, and making the world a better place. It has been a truly wonderful production, and as a result, we leave the Royal Albert Hall even more proud of our ancient institution. Brethren, in honor of our 300-year history, will you join me in singing a hymn about the transcendent and transformative power of building?
Every Mason knows how important the symbolism of light has always been in his ritual. In their many ways, Freemasons have spent the last 300 years spreading their light. And the light of Freemasonry's values of tolerance, self-improvement, and service to others. Most worshipful Grand Master, I humbly ask you to complete the initiation of this worthy candidate for Freemasonry.
Having been kept for a considerable time in a state of darkness, what in your present situation is the predominant wish of your heart?
Light.
Let that blessing be restored to the candidate.
Jesuits. Grand sword bearer.
Brethren, please be seated.